Hello, hello, hello. Another week has gone by. Today's Friday again, and another month has gone by. I can't believe it's November. Imagine it's November 2021. That is, the year is done, eh? Since COVID, it's been 2 years of COVID. 2020, 2021. And it feels, doesn't it feel kind of surreal, kind of like out of this world experience? I don't know. For me, it does. I mean, 2 years flew by, and there we are in COVID. And COVID is making a comeback, by the way. So we'll have another winter of discontent because COVID is raising its head again. Now with this variant that they say is very scary from South Africa. We did our show on COVID and why we think it's happening and stuff in earlier this week. Yeah. So check it if you haven't seen it. Today we want to deviate from that. Let's end the week enter the weekend on a different note. Not that the world is no longer looking at end of week and weekend anymore. I mean, some people do, of course, but the world it's a different world. We've gone through 2 years of the pandemic, and it's a different paradigm, and it's a different mindset. It's a different feeling. Even as Christmas is coming on, I know a lot of people are preparing for Christmas, and some people are hoping they're gonna have big parties and things like that. And maybe that's gonna happen, and I hope it happens. But the way COVID is going, I don't know. But today we want to talk about a different thing, right? We want to talk about a different thing. What I want to talk about today, it's now 6:15, so we're gonna go for about 45 minutes. Oh wait, let me check and make sure our famous sound system is oh, it's good. Thank you, Mano. Appreciate it. I'll see you later. My friend Mano running his restaurant and checking us out and making sure things are on track, right? Rose, I hope you're there as well. Yeah. I hope we fixed the sound yesterday. Yesterday we had quite an adventure with our sound system, but I think we fixed it, and I think I'm happy with it, and I think our audience is happy with it. Today, here's what I want to go into kind of an excursion. I hope you pay attention to today's show. I hope you pay attention to everyday show. But today, I really want to talk about something that is, how should I say, not controversial, but it might provoke some people to say, I don't agree with that. But that's fine. We want you to not agree with us if you feel that way. Be genuine, be authentic, and be real, and feedback, give us feedback. Oh, wait. One more thing. I need to turn the heat off. Remember that monotonous sound in the background? Hold on, 1 second. I tell you, the amount of things we gotta get right before we set up in the studio and stuff, before we actually start streaming, right? But it's good, it's all good. I enjoy the process. So today we want to talk about a serious thing. So here's what I'm going to talk about today. Our 4 W's. Yesterday I said our company, we promote through our magazine, Millionaire Mindset Magazine, 4 pillars or 4 sections of the magazine, which are 4 pillars of the human being living our life, right? And those 4 pillars are 4 W's: wealth, wisdom, wellness, and worthiness. And today I want to talk about that. But before I get into that, let me say something that kind of drives us. And again, this is part of our philosophy in the Qualped Life. Remember, you're watching the Qualped Life show. My name is Sean. For those of you who might be joining us for the first time, I hope we're getting new viewers every time we come on live streaming. It's the Qualped Live Talk Show, live streaming talk show, and we're hoping to we're not hoping, we're gonna make it happen. We're working to make this operation a 24/7 platform for individual development. Not necessarily motivational and inspirational, but real stuff, right? In 4 areas: wealth, wisdom, worthiness, and wellness, right? So those 4 areas, we're going to be having shows from January, broadcasted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on this platform. That's what we are aiming to do. We want to really empower the individual. Why do we want to do that? Let me I keep going back every now and again into the philosophy of the Qualped Life. That's what we're promoting, right? The Qualped Life. Promotion is the wrong word. That's what we are sharing. The Qualped Life is lifestyle. It's a system, a lifestyle system that we developed and scientifically honed and designed for the individual to move their life into these 4 W's, right? Wealth, wellness, worthiness, and wisdom, to live that kind of life. And the reason you want to have those 4 pillars around you, so wealth is one pillar, wellness, worthiness, and wisdom, is because that's, in our research, what we found, those things are necessary. You have to have that mindset of wealth and abundance, and the mindset of wellness and health, and the mindset of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and the mindset of worthiness, of values, social values like ethics and all those things, which drive you into designing the life that you love, into authoring your future, into living to your potential, going up the summit, the mountain to your summit, and to maximize your aspirations, right? To really go after your aspirations. What does it take to achieve those things? We believe, based on the work that we've done, that, and we apply it to our life as well, that we need to function in these 4 areas, right? It's like 4 streams coming together into one reservoir, if you will, and in that reservoir, wealth, wellness, wisdom, and worthiness, which is values, pours into that. These 4 things pour into this reservoir, in which we find our living water, our nourishment, and our motivation, and our inspiration, right? I don't know if that metaphor works, but here is the real thing. Here is why we are doing this kind of thing. The philosophy behind the qualified life, we keep talking about our philosophy, why we invented the qualified life, why we created this thing. And one of the reasons is this: life imitates art, and art imitates life. Right? We believe this. We stand on this. This is a philosophy that we have, that life imitates art and art imitates life. And a number of people talked about this. Marshall McLuhan, literature guy and media theorist, said it this way, that we imitate everything that is, how he put it was, the media is the message, or the message is not in the media, the message is the media itself, right? Which is, to me, saying art imitates life and life imitates art. And of course, people like René Girard, also an intellectual, and an anthropologist and a literary critic and a literature guy, talked about it in terms of imitation. Our desires are imitated. We mimic, we are like, V.S. Naipaul wrote a book, from the writer from Trinidad who lived in England, won the Nobel Prize for Literature. He wrote a book called Mimic Men. And the same concept, right? We are all imitators. We're all, even our desires, we imitate our desires, right? As René Girard wrote so eloquently about. The reason I'm saying all this is to say that art imitates life and life imitates art. But when we look at, I want to use this metaphor when we discuss the 4 W's. When we look at art, what part of art imitates life? So there's a line in this movie, August Rush, which came from Shakespeare, that says there's music everywhere, right? There's music in the trees, there's music in the grass, there's music in the air, there's music in the world, and you gotta listen and hear that music. August Rush is a beautiful movie. If you've never seen it, watch it. It's very inspirational. But there's also a Shakespeare line that there's music everywhere, and we must listen to that music, right? We got to listen to it. If we don't listen to the music, we miss the romance of life, the love of life, the beauty of life, the aesthetics of life. So, but is art, when we talk about art, it incorporates all of the humanities, right? You're thinking about art, painting, music, writing on literature, dance, drama. You know, art is a wide area, right? A wide sector that includes a number of artistic activities. Which one of those activities we can metaphorically say most resembles life and life most resembles? In other words, if art imitates life, what part of the arts or the humanities could we more accurately say life imitates? Is it music? Is it dancing? Is it painting, like Da Vinci's painting, for example, on the Sistine Chapel, or even his great works? Is it literature? Because we're a book company and we're biased towards writing and books, our belief, the philosophy on which we stand for the qualified life, is that life imitates literature and literature imitates life. This is why we delve so much into fiction. We talk about the individual. When we talk about you designing your future and writing your blueprint for your future and authoring your life, and designing your life, what we're talking about is you inventing, and as we said yesterday, right? You inventing, creating, and designing the life that you want. In other words, you're reinventing yourself, recreating yourself, redesigning yourself. That idea comes from the fact that we believe that you're a literature, you're a piece of literature, you are a walking, living, vibrant, organic, alive, creative book, a literature, a poem, an epic. The person, the human being, the individual is an epic being on the face of the earth, right? And we are the most powerful life form, as far as we know, not only on earth but maybe in the universe, right? Well, maybe not, because divine beings might be existing, I believe that, and maybe they're more powerful. Well, definitely they're more powerful than us, but on the earth at least, let's go with us, physical world, we're the most powerful. The human being is the most powerful life form on the earth, right? And in being so powerful, what does it mean? It doesn't mean waking up and following the crowd and running after the crowd and conforming to what some leader says out there, giving his ideas on how to live. Although we give our ideas, yes, in the qualified life, we are not saying follow us blindly. We are saying exercise critical thinking. When you come on board, when you look at the qualified life, when you look at all the modules and curriculum that and our philosophy and our business model and our business formula, our strategy, when you look at the whole thing, you make your own decision, right? We're not saying we have the answers. We're asking questions, and we hoping you come up with the answers. But the point I want to insist on right now is that we believe, we have a philosophy, we exercise the philosophy that life imitates literature. So life imitates art, but what part of art? Mostly literature. And literature imitates life. So the people who are into fictional literature, who read the deep works like Marcel Proust, In Search of Lost Time, that 9-volume book that is the biggest novel ever written, or James Joyce, Ulysses and Finnegan's Wake, which is an impossible book to read, or The Artist as a Young Man, or you look at Dostoevsky and all the great writers, even the Great Gatsby. When I encountered the Great Gatsby and learned about the American Dream, I read the Great Gatsby about 10 times and read study notes on it and did critiques on it and everything, wrote essays on it, right? Because I was studying literature as well, and that was one of the textbooks. But I learned about how the American Dream, for example, which the whole world aspires to. Everybody has an aspiration for the American dream in today's world, and people want to flock to America because of it. The lineup at immigration is millions in the line. And the reason is they want to live the American dream. The whole idea for the American dream was made popular. It existed before F. Scott Fitzgerald, who wrote the Great Gatsby, but in the Great Gatsby is where the American dream became popular. It became this astonishing, attractive mirage that people looked at when when you're driving on the road. There is actually, I think, a scene in the Great Gatsby like this, or some literature book, where you're driving on the highway and the mirage is in front of you and you're going towards it hoping to catch it. But you never do, right? You never do catch it because it's a mirage. And that's what the American dream is. And I learned about that, and the whole world now hungers and thirsts and aspires after the American dream. The American dream became popular out of literature, out of a novel, out of a work of fiction, which is The Great Gatsby, that book. It's a small book. I'm sure a lot of you would have watched the movie because it's a very popular movie with Brad Pitt, I think. But read the book, study the book, and if you study the book, the literature book, and read it over and over and really get it. For example, the character Daisy in The Great Gatsby is really a mirage that represents the American dream. Fleeting, attractive, but elusive, right? And maybe even disillusioned, but very elusive indeed. And my point is, the whole world goes after this idea of the American dream of wealth and fame and living this life. Even in Canada we do it. Around the world people are doing it. And even China and India, the the emerging economies are all, that's their goal, right? For material wealth. The Gatsby myth, the American dream, came out of literature. And we can go through life, we can go through over and over again and find that life imitates art, life imitates literature, literature imitates art. And so that's our philosophy, and we stand on that, and we saying to you, the individual, so we can theorize and we can talk about literature and we can do literary criticism and all those things, or literary appreciation, whichever term you prefer. Literary criticism is really deconstructing a work, like an epic poem or a novel, and really see how the author put it together with literary devices, right? That's what literary criticism means. It doesn't mean you criticize. It means you deconstruct the work and see how the building blocks put it together to make it have the kind of effect and impact that it has on the reader. In other words, what makes it great literature, right? That's what literary criticism means. But again, I divert. Let me come back on track. You, the individual, I as an individual, what we believe is that we are a piece of literature, that we are a work of art, that we are a literature being written, a poem being written, a novel being written, maybe a song being written. Like, we can't exclude song from literature because Bob Dylan won the Nobel Prize for Literature for his songs and his poetry and his lyrics, right? His lyrics is what won him the Nobel Prize for Literature. So song, of course not hip hop and all those things. Real music, right? Real music is literature. And so life imitates literature. And I want to make this point, right? That as we author our future, as we design our life, we got to be aware and awoken to and be very conscious of the fact that we're inventing the life that we want. We are creating something. Like if we're writing a story, your life is story, your life is narrative, your life is drama. Same with my life. We tend to think of our life as factual stuff. What are the facts? And of past stuff. What happened to me in the past? But the past is over and done with. We have to concern ourselves with the future. What is tomorrow going to be like for us? And that's number one. And number two is, what are the facts of life? If we said in a show before, if something happens to us, we give it a meaning. We say, oh, I hit my elbow on the door jamb, therefore it means I'm having a bad day, right? We put stories on things and we spin it and we make whatever happens, the facts, mean something. And that's what we call facts. We call it reality. We say the world that we live in around us is reality. But we want to redefine that concept of what is reality. Reality in the world that we're moving into post-COVID, the knowledge age coming out of the industrial age, reality is not what you see around you. Reality is not what your five senses can sense. Reality is much more than that. Reality is what your soul and your spirit can think, what your heart can connect with. That's what reality is. It's not what your physical senses can absorb and recognize and associate with or engage with. No, it's what your soul can engage with. It's what your heart can engage with. It's what your spirit can engage with. That's what reality is. And that aligns with our idea that life is art, life is literature. And if life is art and life is literature, we have a blank page. And we can design the life that we want. We can alter the life that we want. So having said all that, and this is a really, really important idea of the philosophy of the qualified life, that we believe your life today is really, you can make it into a blank page and you write the story that you want the world to see. You make a declaration to the world and say, this is my story. This is who I am. I'm this character in this story. I'm changing the setting. I'm changing. So life is art and life is literature, and everything in a novel, all the bits and pieces, the literary devices that make up a novel, you take that and apply it to your life, which is what we do in our program. So what is your setting, which is your social environment and your living, the city you live in, or the physical space that you live in? What is your character? Who's the main character in the story of yours? You're the main character. What kind of character is that? Does it have flaws? Does it have a flaw fatal? Does it have strengths? And you develop that character that you want to be. And then, of course, mood. What kind of mood I want to live in? What kind of mood I want to generate in the world? Those things you write into your story, right? And I say these things so that we want people to know, the people who come on board with us, because 2022 is a big year for us, right? And the people who come on board, they must know that we live in a world where, if you want the extreme of it, it's a fictional world. That is our reality. We create that world, we write that world, we invent that world, we generate that world. So if somebody's poor and coming to us, we reinvent them that they get out of poverty. If somebody has a negative mindset, we reinvent them, create a new persona, a new character, a new story, that they become a person of courage and strength, right? And if you look at the great literature throughout human history, all the big fictional novels I'm talking about, from Dickens way back to Chaucer, you name it, they all had characters that were remade, that had to go through a problem and come out with a solution, and the process remade or recreated or reinvented those people. Even Don Quixote came out a different man at the end of the book, right? And Shakespeare, same thing with Hamlet and all those things. So we want to apply literature to life. What has fueled human civilization is stories, is books, is literature, right? The whole sector of storytelling, of bookmaking, of writing, of drama, it has fueled human civilization. What took mankind out of the Dark Ages into the Renaissance and the Enlightenment? It was drama and literature that did that, right? And so it's a radical message. I know a lot of people would say, how dare you tell me my life is fiction? Well, it is fiction. And you get to make that fiction what you want it to be, and what you make it what you make it into becomes your reality. That's a radical idea, and we stand on it. And some people might say we're crazy or something, but we can show you from case studies in the literary world how literature makes life and imitates life. No, life imitates literature. Well, it goes both ways, but really life imitates literature. So I say all that to say that as we reinvent ourselves, as we recreate ourselves, as we become this person that we imagine we could become, and choose in a moment to say, this is who I'm going to be, and then work on developing that body of a new story, right? That structure of being a new character on the stage of life that is inspiring and motivating and can move the world, can move the heart of the audience, which is the global village on the internet. As we do that, we play. Life is about playfulness. It's not about being anxious and being frenetic and being full of activity and being rush. If you don't enjoy life, what's the point of life, right? I'm not saying give up on life because you don't enjoy it. I'm saying change the mindset that causes life not to be enjoyable into one that causes life to be enjoyable. Playful, like children, right? Like people who are not necessarily having fun. I'm not talking about hedonism or wasting your life or decadence, like people who go to clubs and stuff and just party and get drunk and they say, oh, we're playing with life. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the mindset of seeing life as, to use a metaphor that kids would have used to play with Play-Doh. I don't know if they still do that. My son, when he was a baby, a toddler, would play with Play-Doh, and they would make whatever they want with this, Play-Doh, right? It's moldable, it's shapeable. You can shape anything you want. And life is like Play-Doh. We make it whatever we want if we believe we can, and if we have the training and the mentorship and coaching that would make that happen, right? How far along are we? Okay, we're doing good. Let me see, I got a message here. Let me just make sure it's not somebody saying the sound is not working. Okay, great, thanks, Mano. So, life is playful. Life is inventing you as a story, as literature. You're walking, living literature. That's why we encourage everybody in our world to love literature. First of all, love books. But it's easy to read non-fiction, right? It's easy to read somebody who comes up with an idea and business advice and motivational stuff. Malcolm Gladwell's book, I love those books. I read a lot of non-fiction as well. But the real lessons of life are in fictional work. If you study the craft, you got to know literature. You got to know how to read literature. It's a key life skill. And that's part of the qualified life. That's part of living the qualified life. To learn this journey of creating literature, you learn the journey of creating your own life. You get it? If you learn the pathway of how a work of literature was created from the author's mind and his imagination or her imagination, like Margaret Atwood, and when she wrote the trilogy, Oryx and Crake, The Great Flood, and what's the other one? I forget. I have them at home. I've read them. Great books. She imagined this thing and she created this world, right? And that's what we have to do with our life. We got to imagine what's possible for us and create the world and write it, right? That's important. And we do it playfully. We do it that we enjoy it and we learn how literature is made, and we make our life the same way. We use the same tools, the same techniques, the same writing devices, and we make our life with the same thing. So, I mean, it's a complex idea. It's a very complex idea. Maybe you should publish a whole essay on this thing, what we mean by it, because literature imitates life and life imitates literature, which means when you break that, it's not just some abstract, passive, glib, phrase or saying or slam or whatever it is. No, it's literally the philosophy of life. Life imitates art and art imitates life, and the best part of art that we can think of, as at least from our perspective, an artist might say art is the best, or a musician might say music is the best, or a dramatist might say drama. Well, drama is literature too. But we say literature, fictional work. If you live your life reading novels and fictional work, it makes a huge difference in how you imagine yourself, how you imagine the world, and how you imagine the universe. And that's crucial. What you imagine is possible is what you're going to make possible. You're going to create and invent that. And we do it playfully. We do it with joy, but not with, how should I say, recklessness. Not with recklessness, but with joy and constructive criticism and all those things, right? So, having said all that, because it was necessary to kind of lay the groundwork of the philosophy of this qualified life, or one of the philosophies that drives the qualified life, this lifestyle system that we invented and we're rolling out today, all those who would come on board with us. Having said all that, I bring to you a kind of, I don't want to use the word explanation, but a kind of deepening of what we mean by 4 W's, because you would have, those of you who watch the show constantly, every day that is, would hear me speak constantly of the 4 W's, which are sections of our magazine Millionaire Mindset: wealth, wisdom, worthiness, and wellness. And today I want to delve into these 4 W's, which are really pillars. So, relating back to what I just said, that life imitates literature and literature imitates life, the 4 W's are, to use the metaphor of a house, they are the 4 pillars that hold the house up and make it a sturdy structure. That house is your life. That house is my life. So let's talk about me, for example, and I say that humbly. I don't say that with any ego. I'm using me as an example. I could use you as an example too. Let's use you or me, right? Whichever one comes to mind. And you or me, our life is like a house. Our life is this thing that we create, that we invent, that we have to draft on a blueprint. And because you can't build a house unless you have a blueprint, right? I mean, you could build a shack or something, but any real nice house needs a well-designed blueprint with measurements and to scale, right? And then you go about getting the material and the skilled craftsmen, and you build a house. And that house must have certain things: a foundation, pillars to hold it up, and a roof to protect it from the elements, from the weather, right? Once you have those things in place, then you have a house. All the other stuff, might be decoration and aesthetic stuff, right? But the real structure of the house would be the foundation, the pillars that will hold up the structure, and the roof. Take that house and say it's your life. What is the foundation of your life? The foundation for us, the foundation has different layers, and we keep talking about that over the period of our show. But one of the real necessary layer, you build a foundation with steel and sand and stone, and you might tile it after or put wood over it. So a number of layers, right? And you got to dig in deep to. The foundation is hidden. It's not visible. It's in the ground. It's like a seed planted in the ground. And our life has that. Our life has that seed planted in the ground that is hidden. Roots, right? We have foundation the foundation is made of many layers. One of those layers is this philosophy that we have that your life is a fictional thing that you create, that you generate, that you invent. Stop thinking of your life as, oh, look at my life, look what happened to me, look what people are doing to me, look, what's going on around me, and start thinking of your life as, how can I invent a different situation than is going on? How can I recreate who I am? And how do you know the tools and the techniques and stuff to do that? By delving into creative work, because your life is a creative process. It's a process of inventing, not inventing a product, but inventing a story, a narrative, your story, your narrative, your image, what you want to present to the world. This is whom I am. My story is my identity, and I can recreate my identity, right? And so, what are the foundations? One of the foundation is that my life is a fiction and I can create it how I want to be, right? Very important idea that we propagate here in the Qualified Life. And then you have the structure which is held up by these pillars. Now we invented 4 pillars, and we say, based on research, we say you can invent the life that you want if you install these 4 pillars. And then the roof, we're going to talk about that before we end the show. So the 4 pillars are wealth, wellness, wisdom, worthiness. And we're going to look at each one of them to see what we mean, because we don't mean the slang of those words. We don't mean the popular meaning of those words. So let's look at those words one by one. Wealth. What do we mean when we say wealth? When we say each person who comes on board with us will develop a plan for their wealth, right? To become wealthy. Here is the thing. We're not defining wealth in terms of money. We're defining wealth in terms of abundance. Abundance. You gotta have an abundance mindset. And that abundance mindset means you are moving into a world where you're inventing yourself as a wealthy person. Now, of course, that includes, if you have an abundance mindset, you would develop a plan to live in abundance. You would develop the persona. You would attract opportunities by how you approach problems, how you approach people, and how you approach the public, the world, right? How you approach your purpose in life. And guess what? That generates into material wealth, financial blessings, if you will. In other words, you would be able to attract the resources that you need. And I say the word need because it's not resources that you want anymore. You're living at a high level, a very noble level, a noble height. You're on the plateau of the mountain, right? You're on that summit of your mountain. You're looking out to the world and not thinking, I need to empower myself and wear glitzy clothes and the billionaires don't do that because they have a different purpose. They're wealthy, and that's what we are saying to our people. We're going to work together to build a structure for each one of us that we achieve wealth, not only in finances, but in that abundance lifestyle. We walk and we breathe and we think, and our presupposition, our very being oozes with this wealth, this belief of wealth, right? Not greedily, not wanting to own stuff, not even wanting to own stuff. That's not wealth. Wealth is this, in our definition of it. Wealth is you having the power and the influence to impact the world and contribute to community. That's what wealth is. The person who's poor can't do anything for their community, for their society. If a poor man can go and help their neighbor do different things, he wouldn't be poor. Or her, she wouldn't be poor. In contributing to society, like if you're hungry, for example, and you go do somebody's lawn or shovel somebody's snow, and you say to the person, you know, it's okay, you don't need to give me anything, but I didn't have anything to eat today, they would give you a coffee and a sandwich, I'm sure, right? So even a hungry person in community can find their needs met. So we really inculcate this idea of wealth in everybody that we deal with. And you talk to people who know me, they would tell you that this is how I talk to them personally, and say to them, don't think small. If by 2025 Canada is going to have, say, 500,000, and that's the statistics, around 500,000 new millionaires, you have the mindset. Whether you achieve it or not is not the question, it's a mindset thing. Why can't you be one of those? Are you good enough? Are the 10 people who are coming with us on board good enough to rise to a level in society that they can make a contribution to the world, that they can impact their generation? That's what wealth is. That's what the wealth mindset is. That's what the abundance mindset is. Now, this idea of wealth and abundance came from a book that I read a long time ago. It's called The Alchemy of, The Alchemy of something, of wealth maybe. The Alchemy of Wealth. And it's written by a guy named Paul Pilzer. Now, I don't know what happened to Paul Pilzer, but I haven't seen his book. I read his book like at least 10 years ago. I have it on my bookshelf at home. But I haven't heard from him about him since then. But that book changed my perception of life on the whole, because I started thinking abundance. And that's what Paul Pilzer was talking to the world about. And a lot of people listened to him then, but I don't know what happened to him. He didn't sustain that work or something. I gotta check him out. But this idea of abundance, right? Not scarcity, because we lived in a world for 100 and something years in the industrial age where everybody was saying everything is scarce. Everything is scarce, especially money. Nothing is more scarce than abundance and wealth, they were saying to us. It's a lie. There in the world, let's take money for example. $90 trillion in cash are floating around the world. $90 trillion. That's enough for, there's investments in cash. Actual cash money, $30 trillion move around the world every day in financial transactions. And only 7.9 billion people on the planet. I'm not saying share the money out to everybody, but what I'm saying is the world has no scarcity of money or scarcity of anything, including oil. People say there's a scarcity of oil. There isn't. Biden just called world leaders around the world, the Prime Minister of India, the President of China, everywhere. He says you have oil stored, especially OPEC countries, stored away to keep the price high. The price is going too high. And Biden said to the world leaders, America is going to release 5 million barrels of oil and ask them to do it. And India agreed to do it, and other countries, Britain and stuff, agreed to release the oil because they have it in abundance in storage, but they're keeping it the same with food. They're keeping it to keep the prices high, right? The same with wheat and potato. There is something called the futures market, commodity futures. People hoard, farmers are in on this as well, but speculators and people on the commodity market, they hoard food stuff, including wheat and potato and rice and all those things, to drive up the futures price of these things. That's the world we live in. It's evil, it's wicked, it's really wicked, because for profit, and this is what Mark Carney, we talked about this earlier in the week, is trying to change, that we don't live for profit anymore, we live for values. And that's what we're talking about on the with the quality of life. We want to live for abundance and define wealth as what we can give rather than what we can get. Okay? That's our definition of the word wealth. Now, the word wellness. Where does wellness come in? When we talk about wellness, it's a whole, the same as wealth, it's a whole gamut of values that we inculcate. Nutrition is one. What are we putting into our bodies, right? How do we value our body? Is our body something that we don't want to worship the body, but is the body something that we value, that we hold dear to us? You know, in the Bible it says the body is the temple of the Lord, of our spirit, and we want to take care of it. We want to exercise. We want to sleep well. Something people didn't do well in the industrial age because they had to get up to commute and to go to a factory or go to an office. People didn't sleep well, and their rest was 2 weeks vacation or 1 week vacation per year. So they waited till they retired to get rest and relaxation. But rest and relaxation is a crucial part of life. Our days, you got to sleep well. You got to learn how to relax and breathe. The founder of Huffington Post, Ariana, I forget her name, Huffington, that's right, Ariana Huffington, developed a whole movement on sleep and wrote books on it, and she goes out giving talks because she found out how important is a good night's sleep. You have to rest, you have to relax. So when we talk about wellness, I mean, we have a whole industry of wellness in the world talking about nutrition and workout. More than that, we talk about rest and relaxation as well as nutrition, as well as being hydrated, drinking good water and stuff. Avoid things that damage the body, drugs, excessive alcohol. A glass of wine and stuff may be okay, but not excessive, right? So we have a whole program on wellness that is not only theoretical but practical. We put our people through a rigorous, when I say rigorous, it's playful and it's enjoyable, program that at the end of their training, their mentorship and their coaching, they come out as healthy, happy. Well, when I say happy, I mean joyful, but well-equipped human beings. You can't live an abundance lifestyle and have wealth and go after a global movement, a global platform, building contribution to the human family if you're not healthy, if you're not well rested, if you're not relaxed, if you're not, your body is, you gotta take care of your body, especially when you're young, right? And then we gotta go through them quickly because time is going. The third thing we talk about is worthiness. That is huge. The worthiness part is huge. It's exactly what Mark Carney is talking about in terms of don't live for profits, live for values. Profits are important. Don't get me wrong. We have to sustain things. Sustainability is another big thing that we deal with. But the uppermost concern that we should be pouring our life into, we should align ourselves with this concern, is that our values are good values. Kindness, compassion. If we don't care about people, we can't go out and contribute to the world. But you care about people, not this mushy love. One day we'll talk about love and what really is love, because the world has this idea, and many people go out and speak about love very flippantly, very shallow. It's this mushy thing. No, love is the toughest thing ever. It's the toughest thing. You hold somebody to a high standard, that's love. You hold somebody to, you work for your potential, you aim to achieve your potential, and if you don't do that, you can't be in my circle. That's love, right? You don't let people play small. The human being is not a small thing. The human being is a dynamic, creative force of nature on the earth, throughout the heavens. You know, you read any, check any religion, they say even the angels, even the beings of heaven, if you believe such a thing, they are in awe of human beings. So much power we have in the individual. But the world system was designed for several thousand years to suppress, through slavery, through economic subjection, and then before that, monarchic subjection. You were subjects to lords and kings in the feudal age, and we were peasants, you know. They suppressed the human potential. We live in a different age today. Today we are empowered. Today we have the internet. Today we have the power to invent who we want to be, invent our story. The beds that we sleep on today, the house, the comforts in our house, they are the queens used to, and kings of the past age. That was their thing. Now we are at their level. They are not better than us, except that they have more power and influence and wealth, right? And wealth being power and influence. We have to have the right values, right? We have to have the values of kindness, goodness, gentleness, joy, peace. Those values are very, very important, and we inculcate those values. We train them. So imagine you have an abundance mindset, that you're setting out with a belief that wealth is yours because the world has enough, that you can have your share of the pie, but not for gain, to be able to give, to be able to impact society, that by the time the grave comes around and claims us, we would have made a difference in the human family. We would have bring something of value, worthiness to the human family. And to do that, we have to be, so imagine you're in abundance, you have this mindset and this goal and this drivenness, and you're resting and you're relaxing and you're taking care of the body. It's literally like a temple that you make sure it's aligned with the strength and the courage that you need to move forward. Your hormones are well balanced, your emotions, everything is in order. Not perfectly, because we're not perfect beings, but as much as we can. And then you have the values that you reach out to people and you care about people. People come first. Worthiness, right? Worthiness is things are worthy in your life. And then, of course, the fourth is wisdom. You can't live a life of abundance, because if somebody gives you $1,000 or $1 million, and you don't have the wisdom to manage and be good steward of that financial resource, which is what it is. It's not money, it's financial resource to do good in the world. You would lose it. It would go through like sand through your fingers. Wisdom, understanding. Really, what we mean when we say wisdom is understanding. What is my understanding of life? What is my understanding of myself? What is my understanding of the people around me? What is my understanding of the divine order? What do I understand of life? The Qualped life trains everybody who's involved in it, including myself, to construct, to erect these 4 pillars around us, so they become structures that we hang on to, we hold on to, and we move forward with them. Wealth or abundance, wellness or health, wisdom or understanding, worthiness or values. We erect those things around us, and they become bulwarks, they become walls around us that protect us from doubt and despair and disbelief, because we're walking in this power, the power of the individual to move forward. You have to build that foundation, which is in Qualped life, we have that foundation, different layers. It's our philosophy, our business philosophy, our life philosophy, our personal philosophy. It's all built into that's what the foundation you stand on. And then you build a structure around you with these 4 pillars. And then a different day, because we're out of time. Yes, we're out of time. We'll talk about the roof. If life, we can use this metaphor of life as a house, then, and the foundation and the pillars and the roof of the house, which protects us from the elements and harsh weather. The house is also, we can stretch that metaphor to think of the house as your story. Your story has to have a foundation, it has to have a theme, it has to have a message. Like our business formula. Message, creative message, community media, and cooperative money, right? Your foundation is your message. The structure around you is your media. The walls that you put around you, those pillars, they advertise your message to the world, because when people pass by, that's what they see. And then your roof, of course, is your covering, your mantle, your creative money, your cooperative money, in other words, your sustainability system, right? We'll get into the roof part of it and sustainability and all that a different day. But for now, I hope that today and during this whole week that what is our goal here? Our goal is to elucidate what we mean when we talk about a qualified life. To how should I say? To cause people to realize that this is something that they would benefit from. In other words, we throughout this whole week, I talked about things that show the benefits of the qualified life, of you walking in this journey with us, right? And I hope that if you haven't watched the rest of the videos for the week, please do. And even this one, if you can share with your friends and your family, if you find it of value. If you don't, then just leave it alone, right? There are only certain people who would connect with us and who would even watch the whole thing, right? You know, it's instructive. I put pages of my novel, Nightmares of Knowledge, on Instagram and Facebook. And so the first page, when people saw it's on story, right? So people see story, it shows up, people are curious and they clicked on it. So you look at that and you see 40, 50, 30 something people would look at the first page. The second page it drops by 10, the third page by 10, the fourth page by 10. By the time they get to page, say 11, one person would read the whole thing. In fact, I had that. One or two people read the whole thing. So you put good content out, deep content, like for example a novel or pages from a book, and one or two people will read it, and those people are special, right? The people who read through my whole book, all the pages, of course they're readers, they're serious about life, they're visionaries, they're originators, right? Because they take time to go through deep ideas. I'm not saying my book is deep ideas. What I'm saying, those people show personality of not only want to watch pictures and videos, but they would actually read text. And when you look at 40 something, 50 something people, or even 70 something people, and one out of that whole crowd would do the work, it's instructive. So what we're doing here, we're recognizing that even if 100 people watch us, or 1,000 people, one or two are the ones who would come on board and who would decide to take this step to become an author of their future, or to design their life, or to maximize their potential and live for their aspirations, right? It's a sad, how should I say? It's a sad testament. It's a sad testament to the condition of human society that people don't even read books. You know, it's sad to say this, but a lot of people I know, for the whole of 2021, hasn't read a book. And most of them who have read a book had to read it because they're in university or college. That is sad. It's sad for me because that's my world. 2020 and 2021, you're looking at 52 plus 52, 104 weeks. 104 weeks. And even I couldn't inspire people in my circle. Some people I did, some people I didn't, to pick up a book and read it, right? It's astonishing. That's the world we live in. And guess what? That's the world we're setting out to transform. We can't condemn people, we can't judge people, we can't point fingers at people. It's not people's fault that they don't read. The world just hasn't done anything exciting with books. They've done it with movies, so you have Netflix. They've done it with music, so you have Spotify. They've done it with and YouTube, and they've done it with videos, so you have YouTube again and other video channels. They have not done anything with books. We are setting out to make that change, and of course it's a hard road because nobody wants to even think about the future of books. When you think about the future of books, what picture comes to mind? Blank, nothing, right? And so venture capitalists and people in the innovation space, of which we were part of in Canada, didn't even entertain conversations around the future of books, because you know what is the first thing they say? There's no market for it. People don't read. But we got to make people read. When Facebook was invented, there was no market for Facebook. When Google was invented, search engine was a by the way thing. They created an aspiration within the human being, and they fulfilled that aspiration. Twitter, the same thing. Think of it, right? When Tesla even came out, there was no market for electric cars. Elon Musk had to preach that message and win the world, the heart of the world. The same thing we got to do with books. So I just say that by the way. Today we dealt with your life is fiction, it's literature, and you got to create a beautiful story, a poem or a song or a novel. That's what your life is. Not necessarily an actual novel. I'm using it as a metaphor. Your life itself must be a dramatic narrative, and you create that life that you want. And we guide you. We're here for you. And make it playful. Make life playful. Whatever you're going through, enjoy the process. No matter even if it's traumatic. Trauma is a good thing because you build muscle by resistance, right? By lifting weight, for example. It's in resistance that you build muscle. The same with life. When trauma happens and bad thing happens and you go through valleys and obstacles and all that, you're building muscles. Welcome the experience and the process, but don't stay in it. Go through it. And then we talked about our 4 W's. So we have our philosophy, which is the foundation of the qualified life. Your life has certain philosophies, and people who self-examine would find what their philosophy is. A lot of people don't even know what their life philosophy is, sadly. We guide you through that process and you will find out once you come on board with us. So there's foundation to your life, rootedness, and it's buried in the ground. Nobody sees that. It's like a seed of a plant or roots of a tree. And then there's the structure, like a house, right? Walls around the house with pillars. And today we talked about the 4 pillars that we chose to say this is every human being should have these 4 pillars in their life. 1 is wealth, and 2nd is wisdom, 3rd is wellness, and 4th is worthiness. And watch the video to see how we explain those if you haven't. And we talked about, what else did we talk about? I think that's it. Oh, the roof of the building, which we didn't get into. We'll do that sometime next week. All right, it's Friday night, whatever you're doing tonight, before COVID shuts down the society again. Have innocent fun. Don't do anything bad. Don't do anything out of the way. Be good and be amazing and be awesome. And have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you again on Monday. And hopefully next week we could bring some guests on the show as well. We had some last week, and because of different reasons they got busy and stuff. We had to postpone it, so hopefully next week it works out. It's great. Thank you for a beautiful week, and have an enjoyable weekend. And remember, your life is you creating you reinventing you. Have a good and awesome and blessed weekend.